Patrick Gavin. Hubbard uses the words his research and his study, but it seems that most of it was just made-up research. Did no one question the methodology, peer review, consensus? Answering my own question in advance, he is the source, and that's it. Well, actually, Patrick, you did answer your question with the exact right answer. And not only is L. Ron Hubbard the source of Scientology, he literally called himself Source, like with a capital S. That's L. Ron Hubbard. He is known as Source in Scientology. So yeah, his little head is the source of all of this. His philosophical musings and ramblings and all of that is what most of Scientology consists of. When Hubbard was ever called on the carpet at all, and he never really was by Scientologists, but there were people outside Scientology who would challenge the scientific, veracity of Hubbard's works, he always just reversed it with a personal attack back on the people who were making these claims or questions. He never provided the actual research notes or information or survey information or whatever it was he was basing his ideas on. And very, very often, and this comes from people who worked with him, his experiments or studies consisted of a series of 1 or 2. I mean, these were just, oh, does this work? Oh, it seems to me, here's the research method, right? This person is doing this weird thing. I wonder why they would do that. I'll bet you it's because of this. Okay, write it down. Go put this person in session and do this on them. And then they go do it. And then the results come back and the person feels better because he just had a special session directed by L. Ron Hubbard personally. So, of course, he's all hyped. And he's going to say whatever L. Ron Hubbard wants him to say because, of course, he's helping L. Ron Hubbard in his research. And so there's your series of 1. We got the result we wanted. Oh, the guy feels so much better about whatever it was he was, being audited on. Well, clearly this is the solution. And then comes the bulletin Hubbard would write saying, I have done research on blah, and here is what I have found, and therefore here's the solution for everybody's, headaches or whatever it was he was solving that day. And that tended to be how the research trail would go with Ron. So, I don't really know what else to say about that, except it is as ridiculous as it sounds. But it was also all done in a time, remember, harken back 50s, 60s, 70s. This was done in a time when somebody like Hubbard was using scientific sounding terminology and language or specialized language like engrams, locks, secondaries, all the stuff that comes out of Dianetics, or, ARC breaks and present time problems and thetans and all the Scientology lingo. When you're using specialized language like that, people who don't know that language and are coming into that newly or who are newly, freshly examining it tend to be, not always, but tend to be pretty impressed with that kind of thing. And they'll start making assumptions that are not warranted, like that there are file cabinets of research data somewhere in somebody's office, in Hubbard's office somewhere, or in his archives. And they hear about L. Ron Hubbard archives, and they don't know that that's just all the lectures he ever gave on reel-to-reel cassettes, right? They think, oh, archives, there must be all this research data. No, there isn't. So, no. So people just assume that these things exist when they don't. And that is the case with most Scientologists. No one in Scientology ever really asks about this. And it's, in hindsight, it's embarrassing for me to admit that. It never even occurred to me to ask. Or if I did, I was just told, well, that's all up lines. If I was like, oh, I would love to see the case studies. I think I did comment on this a couple times when I first got in. I'd love to see all these case studies he keeps talking about and stuff. Because he mentions in an early Dianetics work that there were either 49 or 149 or 349 case studies. It depends on which one you're listening to as to which number he gave you. But there were all these case studies. And I thought, God, it would be amazing to go through all those notes and see all that stuff. And I think one time a supervisor told me, yeah, that would be really interesting, but, we don't have access to any of that. So there went that idea, right? So that's kind of how that tends to go in Scientology.